Hello everyone, I'm here with Trudy Jones from District 8 in the City Council. My name is Augusta Myers and we're just going to have a conversation today, Councilor Jones, about some of the cool things going on in District 8. But before we jump into that, what are the boundaries of District 8 so people get an idea of what is your council district?
Well, thank you, Augusta. It's nice to be here. That's probably one of the most difficult questions that I can answer today. It's nice to say go to this street, and this street, but none of the council districts do that. Basically, my District 8 is the furthest northeast district. It starts the streets, whichever one it might be, north of Academy.
Okay.
And it goes all the way east to the county line.
Oh, wow.
Not the county line restaurant,
right?
But the county line tramway. All of the city that's east of Tramway goes south to most areas right around Manal, and west to Eubank or Wyoming, depending on which part of the city you're in.
All right, so it's a fairly large district.
It is fairly large.
And it's got some new development, but it's also got some very traditional neighborhoods in it.
It does. And we're probably we have less developable areas in District 8 than any other district, I believe.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much District 8, what you see is what you get right now.
Pretty much, and not old enough to do redevelopment on much. So some of the older areas are doing some beautiful redevelopment projects.
Sure.
And we're not there yet. We're probably 20, 30 years away from that. So we're just trying to maintain what we have and keep a good quality of life.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're doing tremendous things. I mean, this is your third term and your 10th year on the council. And I have to tell you, I was amazed that there have been councilors who are on longer than you. That's a long time to commit to this job.
I must tell you, Augusta, I'm amazed by that too, because it is a long time to commit to this job. People think about it as a part-time job, or you're only in there one day a week when we see you on TV, and if that were only true. It takes a lot of time and dedication, but it is a wonderful form of public service. It's very rewarding, very frustrating. You know, there are times when you just want to go to a soundproof room and scream, and there are other times when you say, oh my goodness, we did something wonderful for the city.
And it doesn't come without growing pains getting there. I mean, sometimes you have to tough it out and persevere, and I'm sure that's exactly what people think. They see you on GOV-TV or they see a report on the news, they meet on Monday nights, and that's the extent of your dedication and your service and your time. And it's kind of like college. You can show up to class, but then there's all the time that goes into homework.
That's exactly right. And there's the whole research and meeting with all the community people, which is, of course, the joy of it.
Sure.
To get to go to the different neighborhood associations and meet with people and talk about what the city is doing, what the city's done, what we're doing in District 8. It is a pleasure. I'm a people person. I love meeting with people and trying to do things that are good. Sometimes what I do, a lot of people don't think is good, and sometimes what I do, a lot of people think is good. You just have to do what you think is right for the city. Absolutely.
Someone, I think it was Senator Pete Domenici a long time ago, said something about, you have this much time to get things done. And you're going to be judged on what you get done, so you better get going. And it looks like from the list of stuff we have to talk about today, you've been pretty busy over the last 10 years. Let's start with the Holiday Park remodel.
Oh my goodness.
Is that a project near and dear to your heart?
It is such a great project. The Holiday Park Community Center, which is on Comanche between Wantabo and Tramway. It used to be, when I came into office, it was a tilt-up concrete building with overhead doors. Oh, wow. With mechanical system, heating and air conditioning only in the tallest part, a little office and bathrooms, and it was used mostly for after-school daycare, which it still is, but it wasn't truly a community center, even though they called it that. So we did, in the real estate vernacular, we did a remodel, which means there is one wall left, so there could be a remodel. And we expanded it, tripled the size, and built a true community center. It's one of the smallest ones in the city, but it serves a wonderful area of the city. And so we have a basketball court, we have meeting rooms, a computer lab, gym. We have all kinds of classes, and it's marvelous. And of course, we expanded and redid the outside play area for the kids.
Was that a project that when you first came onto the council, or is that something that has been there for, because it was probably fairly old at that time, it sounds like.
It's been old forever.
Yeah.
Actually, it was something that I looked at, and I was looking for projects. Where do I start? What do I do first? And I heard that prior councilors in the district had looked at it. In fact, Councilor Craig Loy, my predecessor, had looked at some of it, and had even set aside some money, a small amount, and we thought this is where we should go.
Wow.
So that was our first one.
Nice.
And it's just, if anybody in the audience has an opportunity to go there, it is magnificent.
And it's cool that it still serves the purpose for after-school care, but has added so much more.
So much more. We have, when they have Zumba classes, that's the big one, in the
nice.
mornings, the parking lot is packed.
Wow.
And in fact, this year, what we're working on, and is in the budget, the capital budget for this year is a little extra money to redo the parking lot, to expand it.
Great.
Because we don't like having the older people have to walk across Comanche in order to
Right.
find parking and to participate.
Yeah.
So that's one of our projects. We need to wrap it up and make that one the way it needs to be.
Sure. It's kind of holistic, the whole approach too. One thing, it's like remodeling one room, and then all of a sudden you go, you know what, now we got to do the next thing.
Exactly. and we didn't think we would have to do this so quickly, but it has been so successful, and so how can we complain about that?
Right.
That we
right.
do need more parking most of the time.
Absolutely. It's a good problem to have. And what about the Bear Canyon Senior Center? That's kind of a remod too, isn't it?
Yes, that's the same kind of remodel, yes. Bear Canyon Senior Center is an older senior center.
That one's been around a while.
It's been a while, and I wish I could quote to you exactly how long, but I would think it's probably 30 to
Yeah.
40 years
I
old.
was going to say about 30 or 40.
When we walked in and did our inspections and looked at things, we realized that it needed a new roof, needed new mechanical systems. We were able to do a bit of an expansion. So basically we started over with, just kept the bones and did all of that. We added a piece to the east side that had been kind of a courtyard. And we have a lot of dancers at Bear Canyon Senior Center. They like to party, and they do ballroom dancing and parties. So we expanded it so that they now have a magnificent view of the mountains.
Oh, nice.
and
That
there's-
is a pretty area. Where
It's
Bear
beautiful.
Canyon
It's
is.
beautiful. And it is used unbelievably how many people use it. And our food program is the biggest thing. People love our food program.
Oh,
we
wow.
serve breakfast and lunch 5 days a week. And in fact, part of our work for this next year is we're going to buy some new restaurant equipment for them. New stoves, new
Nice.
refrigerator, new ovens, new freezer. So that they'll be set when I leave office, they'll be set to run for another 10 to 15 years without much problem.
Wow, that's great.
The biggest
I
thing-
didn't realize the food program was such a big
Oh my goodness,
deal
oh
at
my
Bear
goodness, oh
Canyon.
yeah, we have people coming. I think you can get breakfast for $1.50, $2.
Wow.
And they're good breakfasts and lunches, and they get to socialize.
Right, I was going to say there's the upshot of all of that is the socialization.
That's what senior centers are about, the
And that's
socialization.
kind of an established area.
Oh my
too.
goodness, yes. But they come from all around to go there because it's
Nice.
such a well-known. They
That
do
is
so much. They have huge, great volunteers.
Wow.
Great volunteers who help with everything.
What about the Wantabo Library?
The
You've just been busy.
We've been busy, yes, we have. And I must say, a great deal of that is my policy analyst. Strange name for your number one assistant, but Aziza Chavez. And she's been able to, she's just a dream with organization and construction and money. The real thing is to find the money and use it, and find the money in the state, and
You know,
do everything you need to
touching
do.
on that, I think people don't realize how important that position is to
Oh
a
my
city
goodness.
councilor.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
That's your CAO, basically. That's your person, your mini-me. That's your worker bee who
That's
finds all
our-
that stuff out. So
That's our
hats
CAO,
off to Aziza.
CEO, and
That's a big
COO
job.
all in one. And the first contact normally the first contact for anyone who wants to talk with me, because she's officed in city offices. I have an office there, but I'm all over, and I
Right.
don't show up with office hours all the time and everything. So she is the first contact.
Sure.
And I can tell anybody, if you really want something done in my office, call Aziza first.
All right. No, and I spoke with her prior to this interview, and she was so helpful. Yeah, she was amazing.
She's awesome. So Wantabo Library also had a few issues. It was older. It had a courtyard to the east that wasn't used much, and needed a new roof, needed a mechanical, needed a bunch, new bathrooms. So we did.
Everything fails at once, or
It
it
does.
starts to go.
It
10,
does.
20, 30 years down the road, mechanical,
I mean,
plumbing.
It does.
Yeah.
And when you understand that the district developed reasonably quickly and filled in, and these projects were all built around the same time. Therefore, they're all failing about the same time, or not failing, but ready,
aging, for sure.
ready to be fixed.
Sure.
So we've done a great deal there, and of course the Friends of the Library, the volunteers, also have fundraisers and raise money. In fact, I think their project might be for this summer yet to put up a new library sign, an outside lighted sign, because that's it's difficult to find the library. You tend to just zoom past it.
Are the Friends of the Library, is that a group for all, or does each library have their own group of friends?
Each library has their own friends.
Okay.
They have their own friends.
So you've got a good active group of friends for Wantabo.
We have good friends for the Wantabo Library, and we have great friends for Bear Canyon Senior Center.
Nice.
They keep the programs going.
And these are all things that have been done in the last 10 years.
In the last
come
9,
on the
actually,
council.
8, actually. I think we had everything almost finished by then. Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And Academy Hills Park?
Academy Hills Park is a lovely park. We had some major irrigation and problems. We were getting fined a lot by the Water Authority because of the runoff and the issues that we had. And
You didn't have any sway there, huh? You had to just...
didn't have any sway. They don't. As much as I beg, no sway. We need to do some work there. And so we worked with the Parks Department and some of the neighborhood people, including one of the leaders, Don Couchman, who is the chair or president of Coalition 8. And he said, why don't we take a look at Academy Hills Park, because it's been designated a prescription trail forever,
Oh, wow.
which I didn't realize until he told me that the city had prescription trails.
Prescription trail?
It means it qualifies for handicapped people. It's it's a 1 mile track around it.
Okay, so it's actually metered out. To
Exactly, exactly. But it didn't meet some of the requirements. It didn't meet access requirements, wasn't a hard surface, wasn't wide enough. And so we went in as a part of the new irrigation system, redid the trails, did crusher fines on half of the trail,
Oh, nice.
and asphalt on the other half of the trail, so it can be used by runners, the crusher fines, or it can be used by women pushing baby carriages, little kids on tricycles, people in wheelchairs,
Very
people with
accommodating.
walkers. It is now, and we did some new grass and some more trees, and so it is now a park that's used by all.
Wow.
And it's a great park. It's right where Eubank and Wantabo come together.
Okay.
And as I first
Yes.
moved here, I said, that can't be. They run parallel. But they do
Yes.
come together.
At some point, they do merge.
And
yes.
that's Academy Hills Park.
All right.
So-
That's a good visual. I actually know exactly what you're talking about. now.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that, you have to collaborate with other departments too.
Oh my goodness,
and sometimes
yes.
bring different people in to get these things solved.
Oh my goodness, yes, because every place we have is run by one department or other. Bear Canyon Senior Center is run by Senior Affairs. Holiday Park Community Center is now run by Senior Affairs, or by, who runs it? I'm not sure whether Parks, I think Parks may have that now. But depending on what you do there, the other departments run them. I don't run anything.
Right. But you probably have met a whole lot of people
Met a
in
lot of
city
people.
staff that you
Great
never knew
people.
before.
And they really get into it. The city staff really comes up with great ideas, and they get so involved in it.
Yeah, they have a lot of pride.
They
in
do.
What they do.
They do.
From the street sweeper to the park cleaner to you name it.
Yeah, and they take a lot of heat.
Yes.
They lump everybody together,
true.
and like every business, and the city is a business. We forget that. The city is a business.
true.
Like every business, you have some who rise to the top of the barrel and some who sink.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
as
way
the
to put it.
majority of them are marvelous and accommodating and willing to go the extra mile for anything that we can do to help the citizens.
That's great. Well, it sure has probably helped you in getting a lot of these things accomplished, I'll tell you that.
It certainly has.
And is Matheson Park, was that facing similar issues to what Academy Hills was facing?
No.
Did they have irrigation issues?
No,
or something
not
completely
really.
different?
Some of them, just the playground equipment is worn out or no longer meets ADA
Right.
federal standards.
Right.
So we've taken a couple of the parks, smaller parks, didn't need much, but their playground equipment just wasn't adequate anymore.
And Matheson was one of those?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Wow. So Academy Hills Park, Matheson Park.
And most of the others, we've put a little something in, but nothing big, just enough to make them
Gotcha.
better.
Right. And then what about wasn't there a big project to take care of all of the District 8 medians?
That is a citywide project.
Okay. So not just District 8?
Not just District 8. The entire
But there are a
city,
lot in District 8.
there are a lot of medians in District 8, and the goal is to systematically get all the medians landscaped, to get out the grass, leave the trees, and in some areas, like one of ours, to get out the really awful zero-scape that we used to put in.
Right.
And now make it xeric with trees and
Native
more
plants
blooming
yeah.
plants, but native.
Yeah.
So we will, by the end of this fiscal year, we'll be finished with all the medians in District 8.
It's amazing how things like that can make such a difference.
Oh my goodness.
In a city too. I know when I go to other cities and I see beautification projects or well manicured medians, it makes you feel safer. It just elevates the whole profile of the area.
It gives the people more pride.
Absolutely.
We should have pride in where we live.
Yeah.
And if we are concrete medians or dirt medians or weed and litter medians, it's hard to have pride in our city when we look like that. So
very true.
So we just try to make it better.
So that's kind of a current project, as is the Foothills Police Station.
The Foothills Police Station. I don't know how many people, I don't know if you realize, but I come from a real estate background, a commercial real estate background, so I love buildings. I love buildings.
You probably pay more attention to them than most.
It's easier for me to spot things because I've dealt with them. So went through a few of the area commands, the Foothills, the Southeast, the Northeast. The Southeast serves a different area of town, but I was very interested in it because of the condition it was in. Didn't get to do much except we got a few things started, and Councilor Davis has picked that up, and there will be a new Southeast command station soon.
Cool.
And soon. In government vernacular, 3-4 years. but Southeast is one that serves us, as does Northeast. And Northeast, we've been successful, along with Councilor Winter, whose area it serves also, in upgrading, again, roofs, heating and air conditioning. Unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say we have to fence all of the parking lots because of the vandalism and damage and the safety reasons for the officers in their vehicles. So we've done some of that. We've helped with some of that.
Sad sign of the times, but
terrible sign of the times.
Got to keep them safe too while they're helping to keep us safe.
It's a sad commentary when the people who spend their lives trying to protect us as citizens are being threatened and damaged by our citizens.
Yeah.
That's sad, but there's my story for today. And the Foothills, we are just wrapping up some major remodel, fencing, outside lighting, total new interior lighting. The city's standard is when we start working on something and we do some lighting, we upgrade to LED lights.
Right, cost saving, efficient,
Cost-saving.
Better.
Absolutely. And we actually put a sign on the side of the building so when people drive by, they know it's the police station.
Oh, wow.
It was, you couldn't find it before. It was just kind of...
Just blended in with the rest of the scenery.
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. It just didn't work. So we improved the entrance. We're doing a lot of interior work. The police officers depend a lot on the showers, the physical equipment, the workout equipment, the machines and all of that, because they're part of their job.
Absolutely.
And they do come in and shower and need to be taken care of.
And use the workout equipment.
And use the workout equipment. That's part of what they do. And so we will be wrapping that up this fiscal year.
Has that been a long project?
It seems like it, but I think it's been in the planning longer than it's been in the doing.
Gotcha.
Once it rose to the top, it's kind of like a cream. Once it rose to the top, we were able to
get on it
and try to wrap it up quickly. We don't like remodels or upgrade projects that last forever. It disrupts the work too much.
Sure.
It disrupts the people.
Well, especially for an active job like a police officer
or fire department. Yes.
And that sort of falls under safety improvement. So there's more of a sort
bigger
of an urgency to get that
and
finished.
There's a bigger pot of money you can draw on.
You'd know that being on the council for 10 years.
We find in the state is much more receptive to things like that. So we don't get much money from the state anymore, but if we can go there and say, this is what we've done, this is the money we have set aside, this is what we need to finish it, and we've put in more than they have, we can normally get some money from the legislators.
And I'm sure it helps to be very specific with
Absolutely.
where you are on those projects, exactly what's needed.
Absolutely.
I've heard that you know, they have so much to consider at the state level that if you can say, look, and as you said, we've put some skin in the game too.
That's exactly
so I
right.
think they're more apt to help you with that. And that, being that it does fall under safety improvements, as I mentioned, there's probably that urgency to make sure those things are taken care of, which also brings me to another point, which falls under safety, the improvements to Ventura, just north of Academy, right?
Yes, yes. Well, that was one that was interesting. Most of Ventura north of Academy, between Academy and Paseo del Norte, belongs to the county.
Ah.
So the city had years before put in one of those zero-scape medians, big, wide median. And then the county came in and did a beautiful job of the median between ours and Paseo del Norte. And it made ours look pretty bad. And I'm thinking, you know, we can do as well as the county can. So with the help
Friendly
of
competition.
friendly competition. So with the help of a community there that has to drive out onto it and see it every day, every time they leave their community, there is our zero escape. So we worked with them and suggested some designs that would complement the county and put in some flowering plants and some trees. There were no trees. And there was a lot of dying, I call them weeds. The parks people don't like me for saying that, but zero-scape that isn't maintained is weeds. And I say zero-scape facetiously because I know it's
a game of semantics, but we know you know what you're talking about.
It looks like weeds.
Right.
And who wants to drive up Academy, that beautiful street with all the trees and some grass in the median and beautiful zero-scape, and then turn onto Ventura and see weeds?
Yeah.
So we've worked on Ventura, we've worked on Eubank. We've fixed up some areas that needed work. And
So now when you get to the crossroads where you go see the county medians, you're like, okay, this
yeah,
works
we can
now.
do this. And we've done some safety issues too. We've done some bike trails. Interestingly, very little cost, but we had some real speeding issues on Spain between Tramway and Wantabo/Eubank. And we were able to do two things. First, add bike trails by painting. Very cheap. Very cheap.
Yeah.
Paint is so cheap.
Paint is cheap.
And if it doesn't work, you just take
Paint
it away.
again.
Yeah, paint over it. So we're able to put in some bike lanes that not only gave the bikers, of which we have many
Yes.
up in District 8. I mean, they take their bikes to the base downtown. They bike everywhere to work. So it helped them safety-wise, but it also, interestingly, and traffic helped me with this, the traffic division department, because I didn't realize it, you narrow the lanes and make them normal lane size instead of two
Huge.
lanes on each side, and the traffic slows down.
Right. Traffic calming, as they call
Traffic
it.
calming,
Yes.
because they don't have to fight each other to see who's going to go fastest,
Right. Right.
because there's no one beside them.
It's a nice way to do it. And
It
we're you know,
is.
back in the day, we wanted to make everything bigger and move more traffic through. And now
Yeah.
we're finding, as
Yeah.
you said, that traffic calming in neighborhoods has been really helpful,
It's been-
especially for cyclists.
It's been so helpful, and I never realized it until the traffic department sat with me and said, look, this can fix this.
Yeah.
And it can make it better for everybody.
And better looking.
Better
too.
looking. And it did.
That's nice.
It did. And I even had one of our greatest opponents of that fix talk to me at a meeting about 6 months later, and he said, I opposed this. It was awful. I didn't want it. I didn't want to have to wait for a car to go by to pull onto Spain to get where I was going. He said, now I can get on it faster. It's easier for me to get on because I'm not fighting the speeding cars.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that
when you
funny?
have somebody who opposes, it's like then you really
Yes.
feel that
Yes.
you've done something
Yes.
important where you've made a difference. You've actually changed the mind of someone who initially opposed it. And I'm sure you get a lot of gratitude from being able, you talked about working with the communities for this or for that, or letting them get involved and have a voice in what their medians look like and
Right.
how their traffic is directed and how they use bike paths. And that's got to be a real satisfying feeling.
It
to
is
be able to do that.
satisfying. The hardest part is when there's a vocal opposition to something that has it's only a fear of change.
Sure.
It has no real validity. And somewhere along the line, as a good city councilor, I believe, or as a good public servant or representative of the city, because my title does say city councilor, right?
Right.
Is to do what's best. And sometimes you just have to say, I'm sorry, but I have to vote this way because I have all of this information and I've done my research and I truly believe this is what's going to be best for this city.
And that's truly the most you can do.
It is, and it creates some uncomfortable situations sometimes, but it's really the way it works. We are a representative government, and I am the representative elected by the majority of the people in District 8.
Well, and it's like you said, you can't please everybody, but hopefully at the end of the day, the decisions that you make, you arrived at with careful thought, and hopefully they'll be, for the good of the whole, is what I'm sure
The desire is always to look back 10 years later and say, wow, that turned out really well, and everybody likes it.
So let me ask you that, because you've been on the council now for 10 years, and this is your third term. What do you think, at this point, what do you look back? I mean, we talked about so many things. Is it hard to name one? But I mean, if there's a shining moment in there for you, or something that, and maybe it's not a project, maybe it's some legislation, does anything stand out in particular that you're particularly proud of or feel good about?
I think I'm most proud of the Holiday Park Community Center, because it started out as nothing. I am most proud, and my poor husband, I'll come home, because we work late, sometimes we don't get home until 12:30 or so, 12 or 12:30. I went home the other night and I said to my dear husband, thank you God for giving me him, and I said, I don't think we did any harm today. We had a meeting and I don't think we did any harm. And I think that's our job, to do as much good as we can for all the citizens, but to not look at our personal interests and maybe cause more harm than good for the community.
I'm sure that for some of these projects, because you do get so invested in them and even emotionally invested in them,
Absolutely.
that they sort of become an extension of yourself. And so in that regard, that separation is tough.
It is tough, but it's you have to say, is this what's best for the city, or is this what I want?
Right.
And you have to deal with it as best you can with your own personal feelings.
And so far, it sounds like you sleep well at night.
I sleep very well at night. Yes, thank you.
and your dear husband, that's so sweet for you to acknowledge him, because there's probably, and I used to cover those council meetings. They would go late into the night and sometimes into the wee hours of the morning, and you think, wow, did I sign up for this?
Yes.
That's a lot
And
of
sometimes they're very contentious.
Yeah.
And you can really...
And you're tired at the end of the night and
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
It's tough. I've been there.
I think the spouses... Would that make them spouses or spice? I love words. The spouses probably the ones who pay the biggest price for the elected officials.
They have to have a tremendous understanding, and they probably have to be your biggest fan.
That would
your
be
biggest
true.
supporter.
That would be true.
And your biggest cheerleader.
And they're the ones who don't have anything personally involved in it, but they're the ones who get confronted in public. They get confronted in public by people who say, I don't like that, or I do
Tell
like
your
why
wife.
Exactly.
Like, can I not be Mr. Trudy Jones today?
That would be correct. It is funny, and I'm sure all of the councilors have the same experience. It's just kind of the way it is.
Absolutely.
We're a small town.
We are a big, small town with lots of cool things going on, and I thank you so
Boy.
much for sharing some of them with us today. And
You're very
I hope in
welcome.
a couple of months or sooner, we get to talk more about some of the current projects you're doing and some of the other things.
I would love that, and I would love to come talk about art and what I'm hoping it will do for District 8 someday.
Great.